Hola, hola. I'm Trek with two Ks,
And I am 3D, and welcome to Metaverses The Other Side.
brought to you here on the Gentleman of Crypto Network. Just a heads up, this episode is before we had the idea of bringing the Twitter spaces to the Gentleman of Crypto Network. And so that's why we're talking about the stuff that we're talking about in this episode.
And you could do that under the whole thing of either it being a NFT with royalties or an NFT without royalties. I would argue if you did it as a limited edition thing and saying like this is just a one run, we sell an X number of these, and if you have, let's say, numbers 1 through 15 out of like the 1500, you could have a cameo in the movie, in the sequel, like some joint like that. But the idea of initiated by here's the movie, and then you throw out the NFT challenge for the project, and then you just look at the market and go, okay, let's see what's working out here. Granted, most Hollywood people probably would not want to go with just a free reign of let's see what the market does. But if you an indie project or you one of those YouTube related projects, I could see this working. That's just me though. Hey, you made it back, Brendan. Hold on, I got you. All right, there you go. But yeah, I just had that idea. Let's think about that. I don't know if anybody want to comment on it, or they might have a better idea of something, or you might actually be working on something right now. I would be interested in hearing.
Yeah, I think with like a movie this close to the game space and the digital space, it really could have taken advantage of what we have nowadays from marketing. And you're right, and I think they did not take that advantage of that at all because, like you're saying, if they did NFT systems or anything like that, it would have been a great marketing tool. It would have been helped raise some capital or replace capital. Like a lot of these movies, just in the past couple of years, having many of them are not able to regain what it took to make it. So options that they're not taking advantage of.
And you know the funny thing is, ultimately, it was a Disney movie. Like,
Yeah,
you would have thought they would have, like, you know what I'm saying, tried to play with it a little bit. Like I said, for the idea that I thought of was like throwing it out to the community and being like, yo, let's see what y'all come up with. And like build the momentum and the narrative around that way. I mean, I don't know how it would have worked per se, but like, I mean, the budget to push the word out and then see where it went from there, that would have been interesting, at least in my opinion.
hey, it'd be like the NFT-a-thon.
Right, right. Oh, okay. So hold on. Let me move back one. Um, I'm switching gears and I'm going back to that point that you were talking about with like the permissions and like rules sets of metaversal spaces. Um and what was the other thing you said? The thing about the servers. Like, and I think I said something to you like either when I was watching it or like right after I finished watching the movie. Obviously, we're cutting out a lot of what actually happened from scene to scene in the movie, but nonetheless, there are certain things that weren't really relevant because they weren't like metaverse really related. Like I said, the movie jumps back and forth between real person and then, well, okay. The concept is that the movie jumps back and forth between real person in real world and then in the video game world, but they look like real people when they're showing you camera views inside the world. So that's the buggy part that's part of the buggy part 3D is talking about. Um but damn, what was the thing? I'm trying to remember the point. The server thing was one thing that was getting me. Um Hey, Brendan, I hope you say something tonight because you was the one who came up with this movie and then we was like, all right, we'll look into it.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, I'm here. I'm letting y'all talk because I mean, I don't know exactly what was all said, but I think that like one of the points about this movie, and we've talked about it, and in here in different spaces, is just kind of understanding that it may not necessarily be so much VR, so much metaversy, but at the same time, I think that we have the what we could like grasp from this movie is kind of understanding the mix between like AI and gaming. So whether we are going to start, understanding how AI can play a part in this in the gaming side of metaverse, we can start to see how this movie can play into that. Um, I don't know if y'all touched on that already, or was it more of just kind of like the gameplay, or the plot of the movie that y'all touched on?
It was more like the crossing of where the metaverse part of it, AR part of it, like versus AI into gaming, which I agree with you that I think this movie, taking out the whole thing of metaverse talk stuff, conceptually speaking, um, touched on something and is probably going to be underrated for a while about the idea of crossing AI into the gaming ecosystem to make a new type of gaming experience, right? And folks probably won't pick up on this for like another number of years. Like, I'm actually curious now that I'm thinking about it. Like, well, what movies are going to come up between now and 2025? Like, for what I see coming out of the generative art space, for what people are talking about with other AI type of utilities and stuff, like gaming is just one of the paths that the AI can take for how it would be developed and integrated into something that like reaches commercial viability. But I don't think that mainstream gaming is going to be the ones to do the push. It's gonna like it'll probably be X amount of fighting because like the cost behind it or like how much it'll be to deal with the maintenance and cost stuff. But like the experiment is going on over here on the other side where it might be the indie game people who really start messing with it first, or like the indie movie people, or you get what I'm saying? Like, it won't be mainstream that deals with it first. It's going to be we work out the kinks and get it to a commercially viable state over here on the outskirts, or the what do they call it? The damn, what's the thing called? The outer liar.
Outliers.
Outlier. There we go. Thank you. Um, and like once we figure out enough of it, and mainstream goes, oh, okay, you got it to where it's commercially viable and makes sense now. All right, bet. Let's pull this in.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, in a way, because, but I think we're probably looking at this more of like the Oculus side and some of the stuff that we're doing with that. Some of the things that HoloLens is doing, they're off the charts, right? they're, HoloLens is they're beyond what the possibilities of what you can do with AI and ML, with VR and AR. Um, and I think once once people start using Hololens and a little bit more of that technology, a little bit more, instead of how certain industries are using it, whether it's military, whether it's the healthcare industry, and places of that's already using the AI side of being on the VR side. I think once it really starts coming over to like uh, everyday usage, and some of the people that are doing stuff with Oculus, I definitely see it, trying to, flipping over into everyday use. And I see that with a lot of different technologies, right? Whether we talk about drones and everything else, before it gets mainstream, it gets militarized and all that stuff, right? And once everybody stops playing with it on that side, they're like, okay, we can release it to the general public. So I think that there's a little bit more to go for it to really like kick into uh, everyday usage for the everyday Joe and Jane. But I think what Microsoft is doing on the other side with HoloLens, and they've already started digging into it.
That's a really good point, bro. Because the glasses that you're talking about, because I know what HoloLens is. Those are like they've been around for a while now, haven't they? Give you that AR experience right there in your perspective and your view real fast. That is the glasses from Free Guy, really, or at least that's what it seemed like watching it. So glad you brought that up. Like, dang, I kind of forgot about them.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, if they weren't like $5,000, man, I'd be playing with them already myself. But yeah, I'm gonna have to stick with Oculus for a minute because I ain't doing.
I don't blame you. That's a pretty penny for some glass.
Does that come with like haptic gloves or like, haptic suit, vest, something?
No, well, like I think like the lowest one is like 3,500, I believe, and then once you start getting into some of the higher tech of HoloLens that's pretty much being used in at construction sites and health labs and all that type of shit and stuff like that. You're definitely looking into the at least $5,000 and anything up. I think they have a lot more additional wares that comes with that, or that you can that you can add on. But I haven't even tried to price that. Yeah, because it doesn't matter. Kind of like window shopping.
If I remember right, they have some where it recognizes gestures without, like Sleep Lens or whatever. It recognizes gestures, so you can do stuff like Zoom and other things without needing peripherals for it. And if I remember right, they have Minecraft AR, don't they? I know they have Minecraft VR, but I think they have Minecraft AR where you can activate it in a room or something, and it turns your room into Minecraft or wherever you're looking. So I remember seeing those commercials like a couple of years ago. Well, I think
Yeah,
that
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. I'm just trying to remember it now. I remember like some of the use cases when Sadia was talking about it a couple of years ago, when they were using Hololens for like interior design and all types of shit, right? And they're
yeah,
pretty much doing everything right there. If you wanted to change the color of the rooms, if you wanted to move the cabinets over here, or do whatever you want to do, they pretty much had all that stuff out there. And I guess it was like Ignite or Microsoft Build or one of those conferences a couple of years ago. But yeah, I'm sure they have an entire Minecraft out there for HoloLens as well.
but yeah, I mean, like, imagine nowadays all the NFT artists. Imagine if they could have like the HoloLens, something kind of thin, easy to put on. They could like find the perfect background IRL by putting them on, put their thing display, like what they built displayed on there, walk around until they find just the right background to take a picture of to add in. Um, I think there's a lot more use cases for HoloLens than Microsoft gives credit for or even thinks about. A really great reference to the movie and everything too. Like uh, the Ray-Ban, they also have some form of like recording glasses, and so people get more used to the ideal of like wearing glasses all the time. You got blue blockers. I see people that are wearing glasses all the time, and you find out, oh, they're just blue blocker glasses. Um, so getting to a point where people wear glasses to be their visual HUD might not be too offshoot very quickly.
So okay, what was I just thinking? All right. If they're like 5K now, they probably might go down to 3K by 2025. That's my thought process off head. That's the first thing. And then second thing is there's going to be at least one other player in the market that will probably be a better, not a better, but a bridge, a bridge product, if that makes sense. It'll either be a bridge product, like you know how you in fashion you have like the high end, and there's the bridge line, and then there's like the regular line. Like I think it would be that, which makes me then wonder where Oculus would sit in like 2 years, because if the price point on the what's this joint called, the HoloLens is what it is right now, which I mean, considering everything going on right now, you're not gonna make retail market sales at all, and corporate or commercial level sales aren't really gonna drive you like that. For at least my off head thought process on it being a product, you're not looking at um, a commercially viable product. You're not looking at corporate or even government like that, especially for what we're about to go through in the next 2 3 years. Like I don't see that. But if you can sustain through, and then we come out on the other side, like after 2025, like I I honestly think that we're going to see a number of other things come out in relation to AR, VR, and it's going to be a lot of like um, beta MVP kind of projects, but we're going to go through an iteration, and there should be, I hope to goodness there is, um, excuse me, more what do I say? I hope that there are more players in the market down the road than what's here now. And I'm hoping that people will be able to figure out better how to do the side hacking and unlocking the hardware um, better, or like down the road. Like I know people are going to hack hardware. Like we get that part. Um, but if you think about it, because you can already unlock Oculus's systems now. Granted, you lose some of your Facebook related things, but those can be unlocked now. Yo, Brandon, you really made me really think about like, all right, somebody has to be already digging in on this right now. Like, how have I not heard about somebody unlocking this, or like making it do something that Microsoft didn't intend to do with it? That's my thought
Right,
process.
right, exactly. I mean, what is it? The other real headset is what, HTC, right? And
Yeah.
That's the other high. Yeah, they're the high end one too.
yeah, so between those three, you know, there has to be some, like some smaller players coming in here, trying to get low, um, to make this work, right? It's like if back in the day when everybody was trying to get drones or whatever, it was like, yeah, it's gonna cost a lot. Now you can get, you can go buy a drone for like $40, right? And and do whatever you need to do, fly it all over, take pictures, do whatever you need to do. So for it to go mainstream, I definitely see there being a whole bunch of those middle tier type. And I know Oculus was they were trying to bump their prices up and all types, but and come out with some different levels. But you know, the whole meta Facebook shit, you know, they ain't really got a leg to stand on for the most part. But um, I think that it is at least a lower barrier entry for anyone else that's really just trying to understand what this VR space is. It's a lot. It makes it a lot easier for them to get into it instead of trying to wait for that HTCs or HoloLens to come down in price.
Something I just realized. Have you seen what the new Oculus headset looks like?
Yep. Hey, look. Hey, look. Yeah, that I seen that like little like commercials type shit. I was like, oh, okay. I see what y'all doing.
Oh, I didn't see the commercial. I forgot what I was watching. I think I was looking at somebody's YouTube channel. Um, and so while you had mentioned the HoloLens, I had went and looked it up on the phone, and I was like, oh, this looks like the damn new Oculus. And it was like, oh, I got it. You're copying styles. Okay, got you. All right. I mean, I don't know who came up with who first, but the new the new Oculus does look like the HoloLens. I don't know what model or generation I was looking at on the phone, but yeah, like that game has already started of the let's make things that look similar to one another. Um, Real quick, just want to bring it back in regards to what the initial topic of tonight is. And yes, we definitely got off on a side tangent in relation to hardware and AR, which is augmented reality. For those who do not know, who might be new to the space and hear us saying these terms that they don't understand. Again, the movie is Free Guy, and the basic idea is that a non-playing, what is it, NPC, non-player character ends up
Non-playable character.
getting non-playable character ends up getting becoming sentient. I know I said that word wrong. And they end up helping to save that gaming world from the guy who he I thought his character was so over the top and just not needed. Arguably, I felt like he was not needed. Um, but nonetheless, the AI becomes aware and it works with a real world person who wrote the code initially for the AI to become aware, um, that was trying to basically find where the code was in the game because it got stolen from them by the guy who owned what was the name of the company he started?
Oh, I don't remember. It was something stupid.
It really was something stupid. And then the name of the game was called Free City. Free City, which then you have Free Guy, who's the main character. That's Ryan
Was
Reynolds.
it Tsunami?
Was it?
Was it
It was
Tsunami
something with
like
an S.
SOO Nami or something like that? I can't
Yeah, I think
remember.
so.
It was something like that. Yeah, and there was no explanation behind the name or anything. Like, yeah, there was no explanation behind the name. Um, but nonetheless, like this is what we're talking about. As I said before, like metaverse is the other side. We're about the geekier parts of this metaverse space stuff, and we are running on doing movies and TV shows and kind of comparing how close or how far are they from um, what we understand about metaverses, how we're experiencing metaverses, the different elements within metaverses such as AR and VR. um, and what is it? The XR is the combination of both. Um, and so yeah, we got sidetracked on the AR side of it in talking about the Halo lens, which it looks like Oculus is making an aesthetic that follows the design aesthetic of the Halo lens, even though you can't see. Actually, yo, okay. So even on the end of like the new Oculus, you have the pass through vision. Y'all know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, where you can see through, like see around
Yeah,
it.
right. So like, yeah, like arguably they making the same follow, but it's not at the same price point. So like I, I think there's gonna be some good developments over the next 2 years as far as hardware goes. Um, I don't know what the market as far as how many other players are going to be around. And here's the other thing that I want to throw out, and I hope this doesn't happen. I hope this doesn't happen. Someone will come up with a hardware that is comparable in function and design of the HoloLens, and Microsoft will either do a technology acquisition of the company or like some other funky thing and then shelve the damn product. Or someone's going to come out with something better than what they have in the Halo system on the software side, and then they're going to look to do the offer in the Halo system and then outprice them that way. You, Brandon, you get what I'm saying, though, right?
Hey, you see it every year, man. All the time. Somebody, they look at that initial sticker and like, oh, look, they're gonna buy us out. All right, and it's never to be seen again. So, creators, y'all need to just stick to your guns. Be a competitor, and don't just don't get bought out, because you see it happen every day. Too many times, especially in this space. Yeah, I'm gonna just leave it there.
And don't let Facebook do it neither, because they do the same thing too. Them, Google, yeah, it's a couple of them. It's a couple of them. But anywho, the point being is that we were talking about how this stuff um plays out and what we see going on right now, and like just for what we've experienced, or like what we've seen through the commercials or knowing other people who are using it. And yeah, those things exist now. I'm also, again, I'm really curious to see, like, is somebody working on jailbreaking these things, the Halo lens in particular. Um, so usually we run these joints for about an hour, and we are at the near 9:30 marker, but we had X amount of technical difficulties going on with the start of this. We had to do a whole reset. Thank y'all for coming back. Very much appreciated. Um, and I want to wind us down for this particular topic of the free guy and is it metaverse or not. I think I'm a put it as a yes and no. Conceptually speaking, in my book, it is a metaverse movie, but when you actually look at how it was executed cinematography wise, it doesn't show enough virtual reality for me to be like, okay, this is definitely metaversal. Make sense?
Yeah, I kind of agree with it. But we also got to rate it. And I think if Brandon would like to rate it with us as well, we could get 3 on this one. Kind of cool.
Yes, for sure. We'll let you go first, since you're the new one on this.
Yeah, so it's out of
So it's 1 or 0. 0 being nowhere near, 1 being anywhere near. You have to go with UI, UX, hardware, and then metaversal experience.
Okay, all right. So metaversal experience. All right. Will definitely. I will give it a 1. There has a lot of themes to it. You understand exactly what it is. Because it's switching in and out, and you're seeing a little bit of the actual characters, the physical characters that's getting online and getting into gaming. Um, so you kind of understand of what's going on in the gameplay. For UI UX, I think it was pretty good, decently, because it gives you real almost like real gameplay. If you are a gamer, what's that?
UI and UX is 2 separate categories,
Oh,
and it has to be 1 or 0.
Okay. All right. So, UX1, UI0. And what was the third one? We got another category.
Hardware.
Hardware.
Hmm.
Um, I'm going to say 0 only because it wasn't really specified. Right. I mean, we saw it, but we didn't really see it. It was more gamey than it was technical. Right. Wasn't really a lot of hardware involved, despite what we saw of the people who was actually playing it.
Okay. Not saying it wrong or right or anything to that. It's just how we look at it. So you basically all right. So you said user experience was 1, UI
Was 0.
was 0, and then UX
UX, yeah, UX was 1.
UX was
UI was
1,
0. Yeah,
and then hardware you said
that was 0. Because it doesn't really get into the actual hardware of what's being used. We see it only because we see a little bit more of the participants and who's actually playing it, but that is not the focal point of the movie.
okay. Good point. Good point. I'm gonna still trash it later on though, but good point. Because all right, because in the beginning we were talking about how what got me in 3D was the way that the developers interacted um um in the virtual world. The keyboard clicking and clacking didn't make sense. And even if they were using short keys, it didn't make sense for what they were doing. Even the girl, like when she was doing her thing, it was like, nah, this ain't making sense to me just off of a keyboard action. No, but nonetheless, you gave your you gave your ones and zeros. 3D, what you got?
I tweeted mine while we were talking. So I gave the UI 1 because, like you said, it's just like the game UIs we have now. The UX, I gave it a 1 because when we do see people like me, I am using the example the 2 girls on the other side of the one that gets taken the glasses off of the free guy. You see them. One has their hand on the mouse, one hand's on the keyboard. So the very little bit of times we get to see that. I see it's similar to what we have now. A lot of people play these kinds of games on the computer. Hardware, I'm putting it at 1 just because like we see the server rooms kind of about the same as real life. We see the grouping where they have the people actually buildings kind of like real life, and then like I said, the few times we see people actually on a computer, it is a real computer. But metaversal experience, I gave it a 0, kind of for almost like the opposite reason for Brandon, which is fine, but like what he said is legit, but at the same time, like we don't actually have that same experience with our metaverses. We have some of it here and some of it there. So for me, that was a breaker. But you know, it is a weird movie.
Okay. All right. So, all right, where am I at? On the UI, I think 0, because once they got into the world, well, okay, they didn't even do that, but once they got into the world, um, like there was no horizon crossing besides the hub where everyone like came in to sit down, talk, and like look at the screens. But you really didn't see when the live person came into the world, right? Like you saw when they walked into the hub when they were in the game, but other than that, like you didn't see anything on that side. So I'm gonna say the 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 interface, it threw me off. So 0 on that side. And then the experience, um hmm. So the user experience, I don't know. I think for like 3D made the point of, for what we have now, for what they were trying to convey, arguably they didn't even convey all of what we have now. Like there were no haptic suits, there were no haptic gloves, there was no head. Like I know that's hardware, but um again, like conceptually, this is definitely a metaverse movie for me. But the reality of what was being played out, I'm gonna give the UX a 0 on that side. Um, Getting into the overall experience in the movie, it looked dope. I don't see where we are right now with that, like to that level of how it crossed over. Um, Damn, I might be going 0 across the board on this. Like the more I think about it, um, I'm gonna say the 0 in that. Again, it looked dope, but for where we are in reality, that back and forth, the way they were doing it, and just like the visual, and even trying to convey the experience. Because like you remember how towards the end of the movie when they started interacting, when they started getting physical, and she was just like, "Wait, you can taste the ice cream?" And there's like, "How can you taste
Yeah,
the ice cream?" Like he's going through his experience side of it, but she's still not getting none of that. And then like the part where they make it cross over about how she kisses him in the game, but like she quote feels it in reality, but it's not she feels it off of, oh, I feel the pressure and the warmth of his lips against mine. It's this romantic moment affected me. And then I realized, like, oh, snap, this NPC is different. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't, I felt his body and I felt the breath and the air around me. Like, it wasn't that. So, a 0 on that. Um, the hardware, again, there was no real hardware. And then even when they did the stuff about the developers and using the desktops and stuff, that just didn't make sense to me how that was working out. And then we talked on this earlier about the server room and how the guy, I forgot his name, and when he wanted to destroy the game or like totally cut the game off, it was let's go take a axe to a server stack. And it was like, are you sure? Like that isn't safe. That's not safe. And then if you have this system that is like for at least what that room looked like, you would have thought it would have been a more of a, hey, we have redundancies. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like you hit one and then like a whole segment of the environment just disappeared. Like there was no redundancy for that. So like what would you have done if something else happened that you weren't trying to destroy the system? Like what? I don't know. Maybe too much thinking. I'm giving it a 0 on that side too. The damn point.
Hey,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
you clowning their disaster recovery
yeah,
project,
man.
man.
Yes. Because it was just like, because they walk into what looks like a whole like like super basement or like building wide room that's like, all right, you look like you got a number of servers in here. Okay, got it. wait, so if you just knock out like 15 of these, the whole thing disappears? Come on.
Yeah, yeah.
I,
And keep in mind that's during a time frame they had no players. So you would just need like one fucking computer to run the whole damn thing.
right. Like I I also thought there should have been a more efficient way to shut down the whole server stacks. I also thought that, where it's like, why didn't you just have like a command code that like just instantly power drop the whole floor or like segment all at once?
Bro, when I had all my miners running, I could do exactly what you're saying. I could actually send in the terminal out the message to, remote kill or remote turn off my servers or my nodes or whatever I was using. Even my phones, like even the phones I would use to mine, would have a small server set so it could receive the message, which would then tell it shut off. So yeah, there definitely would have been an easier way, but I think that kind of, if you really want to go into it, like the guy's character is an idiot. He's a coder that kind of couldn't get all the way, but he had the right ideal that the money backed him, so he's not smart enough to know, oh, I can just shut this down through a code system, or I can just go, hey, bro, you know how to work this, turn it off. No, he wanted to make it, it was personal at that point, right? But you can really tell this movie's a cusp of like metaverse, not metaverses. All of our scores are completely different. Even like some of our point of views on the movie are completely different. As in, like, remember earlier we were talking about, like, I was saying that guy was looking for his game. You're saying no, the guy is looking for whatever it is that's going to open up. And um, this movie is just, it's different than what we normally do, and it shows.
So I
You're
got
right.
I got one question, and it kind of plays to this movie a little bit, as opposed to kind of what we are experiencing now. So one of the things that we saw, and this kind of goes to UX. Um, would you want to see more uh, of this like life-like backgrounds and lifelike interaction as opposed to some of the more cartoony shit we got now?
Yeah.
And
I'm so okay, let me my brain instantly went dark. Here's why. So I know we argue, and not us, but in the general of like this whole thing of like in gross unit, like in gross experience, and the more realistic you can have something look, then it helps to make it more real, quote, right? So like, you know how when you see some of the new CGI movies, like you can see like the texture of people's skin, which is similar to what you see in real life when you look at people. Um, to a degree, I feel like, yeah, that would be dope. But then when I start thinking backwards on, wait, how do we get that level of realism? Are we talking hardware? Are we talking implant? Like, are we talking external hardware? Halo lenses, Oculus, glasses, contacts. Are we talking implants in your eye, in your brain? Then my mind starts running down, and it's just like, yeah, but some people got some real dark ass like imaginations and stuff, and they want, which arguably will at some point down the road be a business model um for the type of service or software based experiences you can provide to people. um like I said, when you first started saying it, bro, my mind just instantly ran down that, like, you know how much money people would pay for that realistic stuff, especially the you know.
yeah, yeah, no. So unfortunately, I don't think this movie is going to get made until after a lot more people starts buying Neuralink, and Neuralink becomes more of a household name. But Ready Player Two, um, if you've read the book or got it on Audible, that's pretty much what it is, right? That's kind of like the next phase of what this is really going to be, or has the possibility to become, where you are kind of like matrixed in and literally physically plugged into the game. Um, so, you know, not to say it ain't coming within the next, 5, 10 years or 20 years or whatever, how long it takes for people to actually want that concept of having a computer chip in their brain or what have you. But for in the interim, I could definitely see it being hardware based. Um, uh, 3D talked about, or both of y'all talked about kind of like the Ray-Ban thing. So, I mean, they've already kind of made those Tony Stark glasses kind of popular, right? So once you start kind of everybody wanting those type of things to be able to, have, instead of it just having that big old Oculus type of thing all over your face, having it a little bit more to like regular glasses, as opposed. So yeah, I think that if we start looking into some of the hardware to kind of give you that same look and feel of, you know, something like a you know GTA type of stuff where everything looks almost like like real, um, as opposed to something that looks a little bit more Minecrafty.
Now, I'll admit, when you first asked that question, my mind went to Second Life, where it's pretty dang realistic. Like sure, we're still talking within 3,200 bits, or whatever kilobits, but the character models, the outfits, I mean, they have, you know, you'd say triple X type modeling, or models on their characters. They have triple X type scenarios. They have those extremely realistic visuals mixed with extremely realistic social experience. And I think that there's a lot more, like if you're talking about metaverse, a lot of the metaverse kind of is just it's socializing in some form. And I think there's a lot of people out there that they don't have that skill set and they would like to build that skill set. So the more realistic their metaverse is to life, the easier it's going to be for them to transfer the thought processes and ideals and the confidence they gain in a metaverse to put it into real life. So I think that's why, like me, I didn't even think about what you guys were going with. I was like, oh, Second Life. But I like the idea of like even being able to take these games on the fly. I've seen people walk around with like the actual like the big ass Oculus or the cardboard glasses. If you guys know what those are, those are the ones where you put your phone in it instead of it being all in one headset. So in the future, it'd probably be like a mixture of how in the heck you can get to it, whether it's a Neuralink or it's literally just 3 phones in front of you or something like that, or 2 not phone over each eye, or I think there's the variable possibility is greater than um, what we see in these movies and stuff.
Yeah, man, for sure. No, I get what you're saying as far as Second Life and stuff, but I just thought like down the road, and I also what's the name of that joint? Cyberpunk, the Netflix joint. It's like I said like the other day, like about I think I said that to you 3D about like the imagine if like movies and TV shows are just the universe's damn the universe's way of showing like mental exercises of how we mess up the future. Like all those dystopic movies and TV shows, like that's what that is. And there's been a number of different things that show like you get the tech, you get to do, it well, I can't say it just automatically makes sense. Like one person thought of it, and then I've seen it in a number of different things and read different sci-fi books about it. That whole thing of, excuse me, being able to live someone else's experience through virtual reality or metaversal spaces, and you're doing it through the hardware stuff. So like it just automatically ran in that direction for me. Like, all right, well, if you make it more realistic, then wouldn't you want to be able to live other people's experiences? Or it could be something that you use for the whole tourism side of like, all right, well, you can't actually afford to go to this real place, but you can experience it in this headset by somebody who went there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can map some of that stuff with drones and everything else, right? To make it a lot easier to just kind of because actually, and I had the original like cardboard joint, right? I had a I had the what was it, Samsung Edge 7 or whatever, and I could just easily add that in the back, add this in a headset, and one of the things you can do, you're able to go to all these different cities. You can go to Italy, you can go to Egypt, you can go to Romania, you can go to all these different places and actually experience tourism and kind of walk around and go to different museums and things of that sort. So definitely, I mean, the possibilities are endless to try to make it uh, an experience for people to start, understanding exactly, the possibilities of what you can do with VR. Um, but I also want to, because we talk about the dark side, we also have to think about the possibilities of people not understanding where reality stops. Um, and I think that there's a lot of you know you know I know there's a lot of data out there from because VR has been around for a while, but I would love to see the data of the effects on the brain, uh, of what is really going on, and just kind of understanding exactly when you, a lack of a better term, separate from the matrix. Does your body and your brain know exactly what's really going on? Because it may be very superficial at some of these levels now, where where we're only in alt space VR or spatial or something like that. But when it starts getting a little bit more intricate, and we start to get into a place where it really looks real, right? Where we're really looking matrixy. Like I don't know where it stops. I don't know if I'm in or if I'm out, and just being able, because all the data points that's happening inside that headset, it's still collecting data on our eyes and our movements and everything else that's is doing. But I would love to see the data on what's happening to prolonged usage of the of the brain, because you're submerging yourself into a 3D world. And if we're already getting plagued by certain diseases from social media on a 2D platform of just being able to scroll up and down Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, what's the psychology that's really going on when we're physically submerged in a 3D space?
That's a really good point, and I'm sure there's already studies working on that. Um, one of the like one of the things I would, I've talked about recently is like, when I was a kid, we heard stuff like, don't be careful what you play in a video game because it's not real or whatever. People used to have to tell kids it's not real. And as a kid, I used to think, we're not that dumb. Of course we know it's not real. But nowadays we see younger generations not understanding that the thing they played on the game they can't do in real life, or the thing they see in that movie isn't real or isn't even possible of being real. In a lot of cases, like Star Wars and stuff. And so these younger generations that we have now are already um, extremely subjectable to anything as long as it looks real enough, right? And so I think as time goes on, it is going to get harder and harder and harder for people to separate. Like if you see, I remember when I was on Facebook, I see these all the time. I see myself on Twitter. Someone will do a CGI video. They just record a video and they put CGI in it, and they try to make everybody think it's something brand new going to come out. Like the original one I seen of this was when people took a piece of glass and that put a bunch of stuff on it to make it look like it was the next iPhone. And it was when the whole clear iPhone thing started going around on the original Wish.com and stuff. And so we already see like the ability to trick these people are extremely easy. And imagine having that neural link. You wouldn't be able to see a difference. It would all be integrated. And with the some of the skilled 3D artists we actually have nowadays, I think that there would be people in rooms with just an omni floor, never going anywhere, not ever knowing they never went anywhere because they have not the mental capability of determining that difference. Now I do also know there are studies that have been done where, like, I've seen one where a guy was having problems sleeping and he actually slept in the metaverse of Minecraft in a fully submerged headset. So he was completely submerged, audio, visual, and haptic or whatever, and it did retrain him for sleeping, to reset his sleeping patterns, to help him sleep better, for him to get more restful sleep while he slept. And it's because like he went from like not in a big city to a big city, and he completely could not sleep. But going into the metaverse, you could drop all that down, get rid of the city noise, kind of like a white noise machine, but in more submersion. So when people start studying for what you're asking about, um, the difference of submersion, um, I think we already have some where it's like we have people being forced into these submersions, and we already have those. So we kind of have like the control group, so to speak. Now we just need to see the more random variable groups actually showing up and then doing things and then questioning them. And it's going to be crazy. And just like the next 20 years, I think it's going to get to a point where we will have people in the streets arguing, but half people are not even in the street. They're on a computer. And the other half are actually in the street, and they're going to be going, no, this isn't the real world. This is the simulation. And the other people are going to be going, no, this is the real world. That is a simulation. And no one will be able to agree which one is the real world and which one is the simulation.
I don't know what the bet's gonna be, but yeah, some things are gonna happen. Some things are gonna happen. It's gonna be trial and tribulations and growing pains with this technology. There is no question about that. Crypto, if you wanted to say something before we head out, like, thanks for listening, man. I appreciate.
He actually messaged me. His phone died, so he's stuck on the PC. But I want to
Ah,
say, everybody, thank you for guys for everybody showing up and everything. Everybody who came in and out and listened throughout. Brandon, thank you for coming on. I hope to see you in these more often. Like your perspectives and stuff, and you got some great questions. Would love to have you more often here to help with us on this, because you're definitely connected and it shows. I love it. Because like we like getting geeky, you seem like you like to get geeky about stuff, and that's absolutely awesome. And if you're listening to this somewhere else or on the replay, I hope you can see you guys next time and enjoy.